Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening. Folks, thank you very, very much for listening. The date is the 30th, the month is January, and the year is 2026. Welcome to yet another edition of The Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, a.k.a. Motown Noah. Brief little look ahead at today's episode. I taped the last the back half of today's episode a day early because we got a package from Wizards fan Tom, aka Bathroom Tom. Some of you may know him by his preferred nomenclature, Hot Tom. We got a package from him and we opened it live on the show. It was really fun, so stay tuned for that. We also talk a little bit about the Champions League in that. I will say, just really quick, I make fun of I don't make fun of them. I boo Tottenham for winning in the Champions League. But what I don't mention is that they won despite the fact that they were down like 20 guys. So actually a little bit of credit to them for that, but otherwise just boo Tottenham. Just as a formality, we got to do a little boo to them. Where do we want to start today, folks? Really quick, just a really quick little thing that I just thought about 15 minutes ago. Okay. I guess I can explain how this came up. So this is going to be about Damian Lillard, but I get a text from my brother and he was like, hey, I just got a text from somebody and they were asking for like NHL, NBA comparisons. Like, what do you got for me? And so my brother ran the list by me of what he had. And so I'll just rattle them off really quick. Again, this is going to be about Dame, but just, how I got to the Dame thing. So he said, Jordan is Gretzky, LeBron is Connor McDavid, Kobe is Crosby, and Shaq is Ovechkin. I'm not here to, which one of these are wrong? I said I was surprised that I would have thought that, Crosby is LeBron. My brother went into a whole defensive. Again, I don't really give a shit either way. Interesting list one way or another. Gretzky is Jordan 100%. I asked him, I go, just out of curiosity, I go, who's Gordie Howe? I go, is he like Tim Duncan? And he said Bill Russell. Okay, sure. That's the ultimate sign of respect to Gordie Howe, so I like that. But here's what I said. I think Shane Doan is Dirk, but he also might be a little bit of Dame. And then I go, Shane Doan is Dirk because he never actually left the franchise, but he's Dame because that loyalty was like to a fault. You know what I mean? And for so many years, it was kind of like, Dame, if you just did this earlier, you might have actually ended up. And then the Milwaukee thing just was clunky and it just fell apart immediately. The wheels fell off. The wheels were seemingly never on, except for like maybe accumulatively 2 weeks of basketball over like a year and a half that Dame was with Milwaukee. But then I started to just think about Damian Lillard, right? And I was like, not only, obviously it stinks, he's going to be out for the entire year, but I got to give him a lot of credit, honestly. Because usually when these massive players, these massive star players go down with these injuries, nowadays it really is the ruptured Achilles. If this was 10 years ago, it was even the ACL tear would be lumped into this, but the turnaround on that it just keeps getting, cut down. So what, like an ACL tear, I mean, it wasn't a year that guys would be out, 10, 15 years ago, but, I just feel like it's been cut down dramatically. Maybe there's not actually like data to back that up, but it just feels that way. You can definitely say that about Achilles ruptures though, because, within the last couple of years, how many guys have just like rushed back from those injuries or at least, presented the illusion that they were going to be rushing back from it. The most famous example of this is going to be Aaron Rodgers, who tore his ACL. I'm sorry, he blew out his Achilles in September, and then he was like, yeah, I should be back by December. And then I don't know, do you give him credit for this? They certainly, I don't know if you want to say they as in the Jets, but Aaron Rodgers, at least individually, certainly kept up the ruse that was going to be the case until the very end, and then it just so happened that the Jets were, not really in it anymore, and they were out of contention, and so Aaron Rodgers was like, well, maybe I'll just punt on this, and I won't come back. Right, because otherwise you were 100% going to. Another example, and we are actually going to talk about this in a little bit, so I don't want to talk too much about this, but Jason Tatum, is he or is he not going to come back this year? Again, we're gonna talk about that later. But Dame, where I'm going with this is why I say like I have a lot of respect for him. It's not just that we're not hearing anything from Dame at all. It's that there's not even like a massive social media blast that goes out, and we spend the entire day watching a video of Dame like rehabbing and Bleacher Report posted and they're like, oh, Dame's back in the lab, side-eye emoji, you know what I mean? And it's just him doing like a hezzy tween and he's got like a medium explosive step. and he does like a little size up into a 16-footer, and we're all like, what? Damian Lillard taking a 16-footer? Yeah, I mean, we're in the gym just putting up bullshit. Damian Lillard is, how many 16-footers has Dame taken it? Is it, well, I guess off of a screen from like Nurkic, off of like Nurkic, I guess maybe he would have, but that's not his shot at all. From 36 feet is what I should say. No, that's not a thing. Honestly, that honestly would be the video that I think I'm inventing in my head. Is it's Dame from Dame range, you know what I mean? Like the Dame time shit, like Paul George type shot. Once that hits social media, that just hasn't happened. Like, where is he in his recovery? Now, if you're a Blazers fan and you're super tapped in to the goings of your team, maybe you'll be able to point to, oh well, we actually heard from him 2 weeks ago and then a month before that. Like, maybe that's true. I just think that if there was a gym video or something, a rehab video, I just feel like that would have been everywhere. And so if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But I don't know. I just think like, what's really the take? Like, what do you admire about that? I don't know. Just like recovering in silence and not making it this whole big fucking thing, which like, I guess maybe the other piece of that, is we have no idea what he's going to look like when he comes back, but it just stinks. I think it just stinks that, for a guy who spent, the better part of 10 years just being a lights out killer, for that guy to just be, it's not even like since he blew out his Achilles that he's kind of been absent from the zeitgeist, which obviously when these players sustain major injuries, like that's just how it goes. You kind of forget about them a little bit until they come back, but also not really, because that's kind of to the point of what I'm saying is like so many of these guys like keep themselves in the cycle. You know what I mean? They don't let you forget about them because they're constantly posting about their rehabilitation. And again, I don't follow Dame on Instagram. I don't use Instagram. So like if he's posted about it on there, then that's one thing, but it's just not like it's not a whole circus, right? And so, I think it stinks. This is what I was going to say is like, it's not even like since he blew out his Achilles that he's just kind of been like, we don't hear from him. The whole Milwaukee thing, just in retrospect, just stinks, man. The way that it played out. And I just think it's too bad. Like in the last 30 minutes that I was kind of thinking about Dame, like knowing I wanted to bring this up in some way in the show, I'm just kind of starting to wonder, like, 10 years from now when Dame's out of the league, no matter how he comes back from this injury, no matter what the Blazers look like with him, like, is Shaedon Sharpe on the team next year? Because wasn't there a rift between them? Wasn't that like a big thing? Like, didn't Dame hate Shaedon Sharpe? This year, he just had a really good game just the other night. Did he get to 30? I don't remember if he quite got there, but he had a really, really nice game the other night, which is finally, goddamn, Shaedon Sharpe had a really good game. I don't know if he was efficient. I just saw the points, and I was like, good for him. It's, who knows what this Blazers team is going to look like, come next year. And, but I just wonder, like, what are we going to think about, the Bucks tenure and how will that change how will that warp our perception of him? Because if he had, for some reason, he wouldn't have done this, but if instead of saying, all right, I'm finally going to request a trade and it finally happened and it's over and he gets sent to Milwaukee, what if instead of that happening, he just flat out retired? I really think that would be a guy who would have such an inflated, like, revisionist view of his career in a super favorable way, though. I really think so. The guy who had it all talent-wise, individually, but, like, I don't want to say nothing else around him because the Blazers for a lot of years had some really competitive teams. You think back, well, I guess you could for one think about was it the Blazers that knocked out the No, I'm sorry. It was the other way around. It was the Pelicans that knocked out the Blazers, and they ran a damn box and one on Dame for like 4 straight games, and Drew Holiday had him in hell. Right, that's how that went. Really, I think my favorite Dame teams were the ones from like the mid 2010s. So I'm thinking like 2014. Is that the shot that he hit against Houston to win the series? The Dwight Howard, James Harden Rockets. So who would have been on that Blazers team? I mean, it would have been like LaMarcus Aldridge, who was one of the just grossest buckets, like really like not gross parenthetically like positive, gross parenthetically derogatory. He had nasty post moves. He had a nasty turnaround, but I just hated watching LaMarcus Aldridge play so much. But he got buckets, right? It's kind of like Paulo in a way. There's not that many similarities in the way that they play, just that their buckets are not always pretty, just the fact that they do get them. Although I guess it's kind of a weird season to say like, man, Paulo really be getting buckets, because I don't know, fam. I don't really know that he does. How many games this year has Anthony Black somehow been the best player on the Magic. Maybe it hasn't been that many. It's at least double-digit games, though, which if you told me that 2 years ago, what would I have done? People are always like, I would have checked into a mental institution. Like, I don't know what I would have done. I would have, my smoke would have popped out of my ears like a damn Looney Tunes character. Maybe. I hated Anthony Black, and I still don't really like him. I still think he's a huge dork, but he's been so good for Orlando this year. No, I don't know. Who else was on that Blazers team? Well, Nick Batum. Nick Batum was on that team. Obviously CJ McCollum was there. When CJ McCollum beat Duke, there was a 15-2 in March Madness. You want to know where I was when that game happened? Duke loses it would have been the first round of March Madness, 15-2. And it's funny, you go back and look at those pictures, and CJ McCollum literally looks like he's a 9th grader. What was I doing when that game happened? I was in the theater watching 21 Jump Street. The Channing Tatum, Jonah Hill. I was in the theater when that happened. And then at some point in the middle of the movie, my brother leaned over to me and he was like, Lehigh just beat Duke. Huh? Oh my God, getting out of that one. So it stinks. And looking back on it, I actually missed that game because I was watching Ice Cube and Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum. And it was a funny movie. It's still a really good movie. I don't know how long it's been since I've seen 21 Jump Street. Also did end up seeing 22 Jump Street in theaters. Nothing funny happened. Nothing crazy happened when I saw that one. No, I just some props. Just some props to Damian Lillard for just like rehabbing in silence and just like, hey man, I'll come back when I come back. And if I really wanted to be mean, I could say must be pretty scared. He must be pretty scared about how he's going to return from this injury if he's not blasting social media and showing everybody how absolutely healthy he is. No, I don't know. Good for Dame. Good for Dame. I mean that. And I'm excited for him to be back. I'm excited for Dame to be what I hope is just himself. Like Dame time conceptually just doesn't, like if I don't know, for some reason, if there's somebody out there who just started watching the NBA this year, Dame time to them is nothing. It's not, do they, like, is he on again, I really don't know. Is he on the bench? Does he participate in the Blazers fans? Let me know. What's Dame's involvement with this team? Because we all remember the clips when he first went home and it was, just how much it meant to him. It was really, really cool to see. And I think we were all just kind of like, yeah, man, this is just where you belong. It's too bad that things went the way that they did. But, glad that you're back. Other than that, like since then, I really haven't seen anything at all. So sound off, Blazers fans. The next thing I want to do, we do this every couple of months for no particular reason other than like sometimes it's just the right time to do it. It's a little segment that we like to do called Things I Don't Care About. I think maybe in the past it's been branded Things I Don't Have Time For. So, take your pick. And in this segment, we go over a laundry list of things that we have gotten a million emails about over the course of the week since our last episode that I just, for one reason or another, I don't have the time for right now. I feel bad because it's like, oh, so you guys want to talk about this? But I otherwise just don't have anything to say. And so in me explaining to you that I don't have anything to say, I will be talking about these things, right? So it's kind of a twofold in that way. So the first thing going on right now in the sports world that I just don't have time for, that I don't care about this right now. You want to stick with basketball? These Giannis rumors at some point, you know what I mean? At some point. And we on this show have been guilty of kind of doing the same segment over and over and over again about the Giannis thing. But that's because since the beginning of this season, it's like every other week there's like a little thing that comes out about Giannis. Or there's like a really extreme thing that comes out about Giannis that like within a few days of it being released or reported kind of gets like walked back a little bit, and then like the embers die out immediately, and then a week later we're not talking about it anymore, and then 10 days after we're not talking about it anymore, there's gonna be something else from like Shams or from Windhorst or from like name a guy, you know what I mean? There's just been something every other damn week about Giannis, and so we all keep talking about it. We all keep talking about it. We all keep throwing the trade packages together. And then that, the boiling point was just the other day when Shams Charania, he puts out this tweet where he's like, Giannis Antetokounmpo is, quote, ready to find a new home, unquote, ahead of the February 5th NBA trade deadline. And it's happening again. The last time we talked about this Giannis thing, it was Brian Windhorst that was like, there are multiple teams in the NBA who have trades just in the chamber, and they're waiting for this Giannis domino to fall because there are otherwise teams who would be involved but they would be in on the Giannis sweepstakes, but they need to wait to see if the Giannis thing is going to happen. I don't need to explain this. You know how this means. And we called bullshit on that. We said that's not true. The NBA media sphere is continuing to double and triple and quadruple down on the fact that the Giannis trade is going to happen within the next 7 days. The day that I'm taping this is Thursday. The NBA trade deadline is 7 days away. By the time you're listening to this, it's at least at a minimum 6 days away, right? This is fiction. It's made up. It's not real. It's bullshit. And so, like, this is the ironic part where I have to tell you, like, I don't have time to talk about this, despite the fact that that I'm doing it again, and that I have to explain to you why I don't have fucking time for this. Get the fuck over it. Get over it and either do the trade. If you're Giannis and you're, like, scared about, like, it's almost like, between Giannis and Milwaukee, neither of them want to be the one to officially break up with the other one. And that's why there's like no real urgency for Milwaukee to get this deal done unless Giannis expressly says in the media, it's over, it's unbendable, this was amazing, I wanted to retire here, but it's not going to happen. We've exhausted every single resource to keep me happy, and unfortunately I am no longer happy. And this breakup can be as amicable as it can possibly be. I know you guys are going to be a little bit upset with me, but it's just time to move on. And he just won't goddamn do it. It's so frustrating. Stop using Shams Charania. Stop using Brian Windhorst as mouthpieces from Giannis's camp, his agent, which there's rumors about him firing his agent and bringing on Rich Paul. If he brought on Rich Paul 2 weeks ago, I would have believed that the trade was happening this season. The trade is not. I don't know. Hey, don't speak with such certainty, brother, because you have no idea. For all you know right now, John Horst is working that phone. But who's he talking to? But who the hell is John Horst talking to right now? Well, by all accounts, since this information has come out that, like, it's going to happen, which it's not right now at least. It will happen in the summer. 1,000,000% it's going to happen in the summer. Unless Milwaukee, like, wins the lottery and Giannis really likes Darren Peterson, which I don't, you know what I mean? I don't think that's going to move the needle at all. So who could Horst possibly be on the phone with? Well, this is what we keep hearing is Mike Dunleavy is really motivated to offer Jonathan Kuminga and an ACL-less Jimmy Butler and a couple of picks. Now, there's been some conflicting reporting on what Golden State is willing and not willing to get up. There was some misinformation that was spread on Reddit earlier. I think it was Mark Stein that came out with a report where he was talking about the flexibility that the Warriors have with first-round picks, and that the thing that the guy quoted on Reddit in a story that gained a lot of traction in the NBA subreddit was that the Warriors would be willing to part ways with every single first-round pick between now and 2032. Those are super valuable picks, considering as soon as Steph retires, that team's going to be in the fucking dumpster. You know, because right now it's like Steph, kind of Draymond, like, yeah, he's still there. Podziemski is an NBA player, and then, like, Pat Spencer is fun, but then it's just like guys. It's guys. Who the fuck is this guy? You don't know any of these guys. So this team's gonna be scary hours, right? So explain to me this then. Why would Milwaukee be making this trade within the next week when no matter how you slice this, unless you're betraying Giannis and you're sending him somewhere that he otherwise doesn't want to be, like Detroit could actually make a really, really good offer for Giannis, like a really good one, honestly, but we're not in on this. It would be impossible to imagine that Detroit is in on this. So that's not even something that you factor in. I say, like, betray his wishes because, like, yes, Detroit could give you what you want literally right now, but Giannis does not want to be in Detroit. There's just no way. Yes, Oklahoma City could give the Godfather offer. Yes, San Antonio could also give the Godfather offer. Sam Presti's way too safe. He's way too safe. He's just not going to do it. He's going to go after, if they do anything, he's going to do like a damn Trey Murphy or something like that. It's just not in his nature, and it never has been. It would be so antithetical to who his character is. And the Spurs, it's like, well, you would be giving up one of, if not both of, Harper and Castle. And then, whatever else is attached to it. Maybe Sohan's in there or something, or Vassell. I don't know who's going to be in it, but you're losing one of those guards. I don't know. Like, yes, we all would love to imagine a world where Giannis and Victor Wembanyama play on the same team. It's hard to imagine that it doesn't work, depending on which one of those guards, but again, if not both, that you would be giving up. suddenly it's also kind of like, I don't want to say it's scary hours. It's hard to imagine that would be the case if you have a defensive front court or an offensive front court in Giannis Antetokounmpo and Victor Wembanyama. You would like to imagine that in and of itself would be enough to, I mean, are they immediately the favorites in the West? I don't even think that they would be. I really still don't think that they would be, because obviously Oklahoma City, even though they've been kind of on a stinker lately. I say stinker, like they're still not, record-wise the best team in the NBA, but I just mean they've come back down to earth. Oklahoma City has a lot in the last month and a half in a way that I don't know that a lot of us were expecting, but maybe I think we did start to hold them. Maybe, and this is honestly, because it's crazy, Oklahoma City is still as good as they are, and Shea is still just like a walking 30 points a night. But, like, once they show signs of actually being human, then we're all like, Oklahoma City kind of starting to slip. It's like, no, they're still the best team in the NBA. So I think maybe subconsciously we've all started to kind of move in the direction of, like, hashtag respecting them a little bit, which I guess maybe that's good, right? But if you're Milwaukee, what the fuck do you have any interest at all in Jonathan Kuminga? You talk about the Atlanta Hawks, turning a paperclip into a mansion with Trae Young. Or, I'm sorry, I should have used the Wizards as an example. Turning a paperclip into a mansion. They give up 2 expiring contracts for Trae Young. At the end of the day, that's pretty crazy. I don't know what it would be if the guy that has been so publicly unhappy and the organization that has been so, amicably unhappy. Well, amicably unhappy, that doesn't make any goddamn sense. But as unhappy with Jonathan Kuminga as Jonathan Kuminga is with the organization, they can't give this guy away. So if they give that guy away, attached to a guy who's making, $50 million, has one knee, is like 35 years old, and stuff, Pajemski and 4 or 5 first-round picks, they flip that into Giannis. John Horst, brother, for a guy who has otherwise been one of the hardest working general managers of my lifetime, I think should be ostracized from the city and banished completely. That would be a shocking disservice to the franchise and a massive slap in the face. If they do business, period, with Golden State, I think it would be shocking. It would be malpractice. So if this happens within the next week, I'm going to be shocked. I don't care about this. I don't have time to care about this. I promise you, until the trade happens or Detroit gets involved in the sweepstakes, don't let me bring this up again. I'm fucking over it. I'm sick of this. I'm so tired of every other week. We got to hear about this. We got to hear about how maybe Giannis wants to be somewhere else, and then Giannis will come out and do like damage control and be like, well, I never said anything specific. Shut up, man. The writing has been on the wall for so long, to the extent that, how mad are you if you're a Bucks fan when this actually happens? You're obviously not like, thank God, good riddance, like it's finally over, the nightmare's finally over. Like the way that Jimmy Butler destroys franchises every single time he leaves. What's the happiest exit that Jimmy Butler has ever had with a franchise? Go ahead and go look through the pages of history. There's not been one time that Jimmy Butler did not leave a fucking mushroom cloud in his wake. You're not Jimmy Butler, Giannis. But the irony in that is we are somehow, in our chimp brains, entertaining the idea that Giannis Antetokounmpo and Steph Curry and literal fucking G League players would matter at all. I do not care if those two guys are on the same team. They won't, if they played a full season, those two guys plus the other horse shit that they have on that team, they're not winning 40 games. They're not winning 40 games in the West. There's no shot. There's no shot. So if I'm a Bucks fan, I'm sick to my stomach that this is just, it's like as soon as, I don't want to say like your heart gets ripped out of your chest and then they like surgically repair it and they put it back in your chest. And like, it's because you don't feel like things are okay. You know what's happening. You know that this is going to happen eventually. But don't gaslight me into thinking that this can happen within the next week without Milwaukee getting fleeced out of their goddamn shoes. Because that's really the way that I should frame this, just to hedge my bets here, right? It's not that it is that I don't think that this is going to happen until the summer, but if it somehow does, whatever they get in return, if it's to if Giannis does get moved in the next week to one of these teams that are, kind of in the mix right now, it sounds like New York's out of it, I guess. If they couldn't make it work when they had an exclusive negotiating window in, August? If they couldn't make it work then, I don't exactly know how it would work now. despite the fact that we have also learned since within the last couple of days that apparently Karl Anthony Towns feels some type of way that he was involved in those trade conversations, and it's a rift that 6 months after the fact still exists. So okay, you want to put Karl Anthony Towns and Miles Turner on the same team, you fucking freaks. I'm sending John Horst to The Hague. Are you kidding me? So if it's the Knicks, you're going to get fleeced. If it's the Warriors, you're going to get fleeced. San Antonio, Oklahoma City, good trade partners. Good trade partners, and those are I think literally the only two teams. Again, other than like Detroit. Other than Detroit, Miami can make it work. I mean, they can. If you wanted to get sicko, disgusting, I'll just say it. If you wanted to get... No, this is such a dumb take. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say, what if you just traded Jason Tatum for Giannis Antetokounmpo? No, you're not going to do that. No, I'm tired of this, man. I'm sick of it, and I'm telling you right now, I'm done. I'm done talking about this until he's on a different team, okay? This is bullshit. The second thing that I no longer have time for, the second thing that I don't want to talk about anymore, we'll keep this one quick. Well, let's actually, I'll save that one for last. Let's just stick with the NBA. A lot of emails about this week, similar to the Giannis thing, right? I'm sorry I didn't read any of your guys' emails about it, but I more or less just kind of covered all the bases on what you guys were upset about anyways, Bucks fans. This Memphis Grizzlies owner business about him, Pablo Torre finds out, he fucked around and he found out that the Memphis Grizzlies owner was like supplying drones to the Russians. Or still is. I don't know. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this right now. There's too much going on at home. Very literally in my personal home, at my home, domestically and abroad, in the broader United States of America. There's too much shit going on right now. What, a bad guy owns an NBA team? Wow. Oh my God. If we looked into the investment history of every single NBA owner, who comes out the cleanest? And what does that mean? What does that look like? Is that relative? Now, I'm not saying this just to say, well, all the NBA owners are bad, so I don't care if he was, funding a war. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying, like, I don't care. Yet, right now, I don't care about this. It's too much information that I'm gonna have to figure out, and I have to learn, I'm gonna have to absorb. Just right now, I don't care. Now, it's funny, of course. The easiest parallel, the easiest jokes that you can make are, well, they're right from within the calls coming from inside the house. He's your point guard. It's John Morant. It is funny that this guy is essentially, people got so mad a couple of years ago when Brittany Griner got arrested for having like a dab pen in Russia, and she got arrested and was like a POW. Well, not literally a POW, and then there was like a prisoner swap for the Merchant of Death. And everybody was like, how the hell did you let this guy go? You just brought back Brittany Griner. The fucking chuds of the world were so mad about that because we released an arms dealer back to Russian hands. I don't know. I just think like I don't I don't care. I feel bad because so many of you sent in such passionate emails, and I just was like, yeah. Like, I don't know. My most recent update on Russia-Ukraine is, have you seen this? Have you heard about this? So the Russians have started to send out guys who, you see these barren wastelands, these massive clearings, these massive openings, in between all these mini forests. But, it's the middle of winter, so even all these mini forests, all the foliage is gone. So there's essentially nowhere for anybody to hide right now, especially when you're using like thermal optics. Well, just to that point, so the Russians have started to send guys out like individually on reconnaissance missions, because a lot of these times when they're running ops in this on the front lines in Ukraine, you kind of have to go typically, I guess this has sort of always been the norm, is to not clump up, right? And to kind of, to space out. But you really have to do it now because of the drone warfare. This is where this is going. So, just in line with if this guy's, supplying drones. But I guess this is also sort of on behalf of Ukraine. So the Russians have been sending out guys like one by one in these suits that are called they're just being deemed by the internet like penguin suits. The people who are like covering this shit, And what it is, it's essentially like this big blanket. It's like a cloak, but it has like thermal suppression or whatever. So if you're using thermal optics, you can't see them, and it blends in with the snow. Except it doesn't, because you just see these guys literally waddling around with these big, and like there's like these hoods on them, and they have these like kind of like beaks, and so they literally are waddling around like penguins out in the snow. Again, I don't really understand what the recon that they're doing is, but they just keep getting sent out on their own, and these videos keep coming out of these Ukrainian drones spotting these penguins and then just like fucking with them and being like, haha, like I'm a drone and I'm gonna make it really known that I'm flying around you until you start to panic. And the second that you lose all hope and just kind of like take a knee and put your hands over here, this is really dark what I'm saying, and they just explode them. They just blow them up. 2 penguins within the last week in this war have just been blown to smithereens. So yeah, I'm keeping tabs on that. But you talk about the people who are supplying, these drones on either side. It's everyone. It's the whole world. This conflict for the last 4 years has served, 5 years, 4 years, has served as a proxy war for literally the rest of the world. Ukraine is fighting with arms from the English and from the Germans and from a lot of NATO countries and obviously the United States, and not so much since Trump's he's sort of been strong arming a lot of those deals. And even the Russian, even if you just stay on Ukraine for a second, like the international legions that they have, there are Americans fighting there. There are English fighting there. Well, all of the UK. There are the Irish, the Scottish, the English. No Welsh. There's nobody from Wales fighting in this war. There are Germans there. There are fucking Chileans there. There are Brazilians there. There are Argentinians there. Now those people are not acting on behalf of their own countries, but just as a sort of defense force because they believe that it's the right thing to do. But otherwise, like, this is just being funded from so many different angles. And even from the Russians' perspective, there are there are North Koreans is what I meant to say, who are fighting in this war on behalf of Russia and like getting addicted to porn. Like, that's still a thing that's going on because they now suddenly have unfettered internet access and they're finding out what the real world is. And as soon as they got boots in the ground because they originally weren't deployed to Ukraine, they were deployed to Western Russia after Ukraine did that huge op where they seized a bunch of territory inside of Western Russia. And, China's funding this war, and it's you know what I mean? Like, there's just so many people going on. And so to me, I guess all this story ended up serving as is like, okay, so we just got to the bottom of another guy who's funding this war. It just so happens that he's on the wrong side of it. Again, I can't really say that because I've stayed out of it and I don't really know. And otherwise, yeah, I guess if you're going to be supplying munitions or arms or drones in this case for either side, I think you would like to. I think the right side of history is probably going to tell you that you should be giving them to like Ukraine, the country who we were led to believe after 2 weeks was just going to get moonwalked over this quote unquote special military operation. They were supposed to dance into Kyiv within 2 weeks, and then Zelensky's out there like pounding his chest every day, like, come on, like, let's go. Like, I thought you guys were going to steal our shit. And then they didn't, then that had a lot to do with European intelligence and American intelligence and the shit that we were supplying them immediately. And, I don't have time for it. I don't care. Eventually I will. Eventually I'll get around to it. I'll listen to the full episode. Pablo Torre finds out because he does really, really good work. And I'm sure the guy that he had, on the show explaining all of this, that did all of the real, investigative, research, I'm sure it's thorough. I'm sure I'm going to be interested in it. But right now, I don't care. So what's the last thing that I want to say? Things that I don't care about, things that I don't have time for. I'm going to make this so quick because I really don't care. But again, we got a lot of emails about this, and I feel bad that I otherwise will just ignore it. And I just want to give you guys this, okay? Kanye West takes out, he does a damn op-ed in the New York Times is what it was, where he apologizes for being racist and for being anti-Semitic and for, all these years just being for being a Nazi, basically. And he was like, back in 2002, I got into a really bad car accident, and everybody always knows that I had my jaw wired shut and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And then people are like posting the photos from his, what his face looked like after the accident. And basically he was like, I just have really bad brain damage and I'm fucked out of my mind, and that's why I'm racist. And now I don't want to get into the psychology of this because there is actually some truth in people who experience like mass psychosis. There are instances of people who just get really obsessed with like race And like what's the word that I'm looking for? I'm just gonna move on because I can't think of the word that I'm looking for. So it's actually not like, it's not wrong what he's saying. Like, it is a real thing that has happened to people. But also, again, at this point, like, we're so many years into him being like this new version of who he is, and like him slowly devolving into like this new guy where his brain is just complete applesauce. Which, again, like, yeah, I guess you could trace that back, like 25 years ago to, like 25 years ago basically, to when he had that accident. It's just funny to me. That's the angle. And then he goes on to talk about like, well, I've been reading a lot of accounts on Reddit about like psychosis and shit like that, and it made me feel a lot better. And I don't care. I don't care. I stopped caring after The Life of Pablo. What was the one where I like being bipolar, or I hate being bipolar? It's awesome. Whatever. Was that Yay? What was that? I don't care. Violent Crimes, yeah, like it was good, but as soon as he stopped, Kids See Ghost, that's what it is. Kids See Ghost is the last thing that he released that I was like, holy shit, he's so back. But then he wasn't. And then he wasn't, and people are gonna be like, what about Donda? I would ask you the same thing. What about it? I don't care. I think one of you guys, what you said in your email was like, sometimes I think it's important to separate the art from the artist. Well, it's always important to do that, and unfortunately, I do that to a fault. But in Kanye's case specifically, it just goes back to the whole actions speak louder than words thing. And I'm just not positive that within 6 months, we're just going to, like, the Nazi shit is just really hard to, you know what I mean? You associated yourself with some pretty fucked up people and said a lot of really hurtful things. Like, none of them really affected me, to be honest with you, but that doesn't mean that I can't, be empathetic to the people that it did and think that it's still fucked up and wrong. And so I don't care. Like, when it was 6 months from now, when in some point within the next 6 months, when he does or says something that's super fucked up, yeah. But if he doesn't, people are allowed to change. But the problem is that he did change, and he changed into the worst guy. Is he going to change? Not that he was ever the quote unquote best guy, but he was Kanye. He rocked. He was Kanye. You talk about separating the art from the artist. Well, the truth is that he is, I think, the most influential artist, if not just like sonically, like through his music, fashion-wise, of the last 20 years. That is objective truth. That is objective fact. That is something that more so for the fashion at this point, because the music thing, I've just been so poisoned by like what he's done. Well, I guess I can't really say that if I'm trying to separate it, but I don't care to separate it at this point. I think is what it comes down to for me, is I just don't care enough about him to separate it. I don't care about it is also interesting to me that he does this whole apology thing right before he has an album coming out. Oh, wow. Yeah. Isn't that interesting how that works? So I don't care about this. I really don't care about this. What else do I got for you guys? Hey, I said we were going to mention Jason Tatum. I said we were going to bring that up and his recovery, and how, it's funny if you use Jason Tatum, with the Damian Lillard thing that I was doing earlier, wow, Dame, like, it just doesn't, I just haven't seen the rehab videos, him in the lab coming across my desk. I find that admirable. Like, good for him. He's just doing it in silence. There's no reason for you at home to know that I'm in the gym. Obviously, I'm in the gym. Obviously, I'm in physical therapy, all this stuff, Jason Tatum has not been the same. He has not been the same, and we have been given every single impression that he will return this year. For the longest time, the timeline has been post All-Star break. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. It would be roughly like 10 months after he blew out his Achilles that he wants to make his return. It's a little bit quick, but not so quick that it's out of the realm of possibility. And so we've all been watching the Celtics this year. I'm going to go somewhere with this, but just give me a second to set this up, right? So, like, we've all been watching the Celtics this year, and we thought between them and the Pacers that it was going to be a gap year, going into it. The Pacers certainly committed to that, despite the fact that they play really hard. They just don't have the juice. And it's not that it stinks, because they're going to get a really good player in the draft this year. The first 5 picks, I think, are all at some point in their careers, at least all-stars, and at least 3 of them could be all NBA players too. But we'll talk about that more once we get a little bit closer to the draft. I really, really am liking how this class is shaping up, though. And so a team like Indiana, I think, needs it more than Boston does, because Boston will always be able to attract free agents, at the very least more so than an Indiana would, right? And so then for Boston, it kind of ended up turning into, okay, well, Jaylen Brown finally gets his team, and we're a couple months into the season, we're over halfway through, like, we all see how good the Celtics have been. We all see that Jaylen Brown has been up to the task in a way it's completely shocking. It's not like we've always known how good he is. He was the conference finals MVP and literally the MVP of the finals too, by the way. Didn't make the Olympic roster. Did not make the Olympic roster, but he did win the previous 2 awards. He's been on a heater this year. He's been Superman. He's been Superman for the Celtics, and I guess I could pull up the standings here. What are they as I'm taping this? They're 4 or 5 games out of the 1 seed back from Detroit. They're in the 2 seed right now, bro. There's been a lot of conversation about wait, so now that this Celtics team has kind of created a new identity sans Jason Tatum, they've figured out how to play without him, and they're not just playing they're not just surviving and keeping their heads above water. No, they're proving that they're one of the most competitive teams in the league, and they're able to win games in a lot of times pretty decisively, right? And okay, how do you insert Jason Tatum back into this without it kind of messing up with the flow of the team, And all we keep hearing, these last few weeks is it's just ramping up more and more. Yeah, the Tatum thing's going to happen. Yeah, the Tatum thing's going to happen. It 100% is. Do they do anything at the deadline expecting that Tatum's coming back? And then, record scratch freeze frame. You're probably wondering how the Celtics got here. Was it Chris Haynes that reported this, or was it Broussard? I think it was Haynes. So suddenly, Jason Tatum is reevaluating where he is in his return? And reevaluating more specifically whether or not he's actually going to come back this season. And then that seems to be getting amplified more and more. Now, there's been a lot of kind of stuff that's gone back and forth since this has come out, whether there's been pushback on it. And so by the time you're listening to this, there might even be another report that came out that said, no, he's definitely going to come back this year. Well, I'm telling you right now, it sounds like it's a lot less of a certainty than it was, 72 hours ago. And so you hear that, wait a second. Jason Tatum might not come back. Look, as a Pistons fan, you know what I mean? Whoa. That changes the complexion of everything to a degree that if you are Trajan Langdon and over the next week, if you play your cards right, I think we're going to the finals. I think we might. I don't want to sound like a Cavs fan from a year ago, But this so far is playing out like that first season where the Lions were good and they went to the NFC Championship game and all they had to do was play 2 normal quarters of football and they would have gone to the Super Bowl. That did not end up being the case, however. This Pistons team is playing with house money. There are not real expectations this year other than, I guess there is. I shouldn't say it that way. They have to win a series. That's the real expectation. That's what it was coming into the season was we got to win a series this year. Let's go get it. Well, now I'm still I don't want to say I'm not scared of the Celtics, but we're beating them. In a 7-game series, I think the Pistons are beating them, despite the fact that, however many of those guys on that team have legitimate championship experience and making deep runs in the playoffs. It's not just regular season success that they have, which is all the Pistons have right now, right? So when it really comes down to it, the Celtics do have that edge. But if the standings, are frozen and if the season ended exactly where it is right now, well, the Pistons aren't playing Boston until the conference finals. And so of course it's on Detroit to, play who's in front of them and to get through what they got to get through. But there's a non-zero chance that somebody takes Boston out. Do I think it could be Cleveland? No, not really, to be honest with you. No. Could it be the Knicks? Yes. Yeah. So right now, who are you worried about if you're Detroit? Well, do I really want to do a whole power rankings thing right now? Well, you're the one that brought it up. You should. No, I'm not going to. I'm just saying, the Celtics changes this completely. It changes this completely if Jason Tatum is not involved. And I really don't have anything other to say than that. If the Pistons do not do anything at the trade deadline, which I would be shocked if that's the case, well, there can still be major players in the buyout market. I'm looking at you, Chris Middleton, looking at you. Klay Thompson's been a name that's been floated around for Detroit a lot recently, not as a buyout guy, rather, but as just as a trade candidate. I mean, I don't think you give up Tobias in that trade. I think you just say, here's Karis LeVert and 3 seconds. I don't really know why Dallas would do that, but Detroit has enough seconds that they can throw around that you could aggregate 5 into that trade and you wouldn't really even think about it. And if you just get a veteran shooter on the team, yeah, go for it, It sounds like Jose Alvarado is kind of off the table. Not that Detroit's in on that anyways. We haven't really heard them attached to him at all. The most recent was San Antonio, New York, and then there was one other team for Jose Alvarado. But it sounds like he doesn't want to leave. And so you give New Orleans a lot of credit because clearly they have a culture down there where even though the team, well, record-wise they stink, but they are also like a good collection of players who they just kind of end up on the wrong side of it every night because the team's not that great, but they have really good players. You know what I mean? I was thinking it would be fun. I think the Pistons subreddit even brought this up. What about Sadiq Bey? What if we just brought him back? I think that'd be fun. My brother wants us to go after Dalton Connect, and I just told him yeah, I guess, but for a guy who is supposed to be a knockdown 3-point shooter, I don't think it's good that he's not, good at shooting threes. That doesn't help anybody. It also doesn't help that he's one of the people that JJ Redick gets mad at because he doesn't want to play defense. That doesn't help. At that point, just go get Lou Dort. If you want a guy who doesn't shoot threes well at all, but still likes to shoot them, Dalton Connect's just kind of having a down year is all that it is. Lou Dort just doesn't shoot threes well at all, but he does play the shit out of defense and he can fight. That's the most important thing. He just got fined $25,000 because Jeremiah Fears tried to kill him. You know what I mean? So if you want to do that, I guess you can go get Lou Dort. But again, they need a guy. They need another Duncan Robinson, but they just need a better guy. They need a better movement shooter, I think is all that it is. Yeah, that is Michael Porter Jr. But that's really cooled off. You haven't heard anything about that in a week or two. And so I don't know. I don't know who it's going to end up being. I got a whole list of these guys that I'm talking to everybody about, and I'm not going to keep rattling them off because every week at some point we do a Pistons trade deadline thing. I think in the next episode, since it'll be the last time that you hear from me since we actually do the trade deadline, maybe I'll throw some stuff together. But otherwise, I'm just keeping an eye on the Celtics because if Tatum's not coming back, I really think this thing is just burst wide open. And how they stack up, how the Pistons stack up against teams in the West. They played a game against Houston maybe a week or a week and a half ago. The Pistons did end up losing to Houston, but what I saw out of those two teams is I don't know if there are two teams in the NBA right now that play harder. I don't think they do. I think Detroit and Houston, I would put them at number 1 and number 2. At the teams that give a shit the most and play the hardest, I don't know in what order I would put. Well, of course I do. I'd put Detroit at number 1. But both of their defensive numbers, both teams' defensive numbers are shocking. They're crazy. And, Nick, what about Oklahoma City? I just think they make it look easy. So, no. I mean, maybe they're playing so hard that it looks like they're moonwalking. If that's what you want to say, then yeah, I guess you're right. But I also mean this in kind of the most endearing way. No, I actually think Oklahoma City makes it look easy to such a degree that I don't think they're playing very hard. Obviously, they give a shit. Obviously, they care a lot. That's how they were able to win the championship last year. And it's crazy. We just talk about them in the most dominant way. But the truth is they actually, there were so many they played 2 Game 7s, or was it 3 Game 7s? I think it was just the 2 Game 7s that they played last year. They were on the ropes. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander shot 2% from 3. His numbers from around the rim, I got to tell you, if you go look at Shai's numbers from around the rim and he's shooting 50% just at the rim, he's shooting 50% from within 3 feet. Jaden Ivey's at 60. And you're going to tell me that it's volume. I don't give a shit what your volume is if you're only making half your shots at the rim. That's not good. Now, what do you say? Shai's not efficient? No, I'm not saying that at all. Well, I guess in some sense, just at the rim, I guess that he is. Also, that he sucks at shooting threes. He's just really good at manipulating defenses. In the James Harden way. I don't know. He rocks. I really don't want this to come off as a whole, I'm not the Shai hater. I'm not the shader that everybody else. Whoa, that actually kind of works. Because it's I was thinking like Shai hater, but if you say shader, it's like you're throwing shade. Ooh, is there something there? There might be a little bit of something there, but alrighty, folks, we'll move on to something else. I said at the beginning of this, the back half of this episode. Let's transition to it right now. Sorry, this is kind of meta for me. I'm not used to I'm used to ending the show, but I'm not going to be ending the show. I don't need to fill you in on the inside baseball of what's going on in my brain right now and how I'm technically me right now, present day, is done taping the show, but the show's not over. You know what I mean? Alrighty, folks. Champions League and a gift from Bathroom Tom. Let's get to it. Champions League match day 8. One of the more electric days of sports that I've watched. I mean, I kept texting people about this who didn't care about soccer in my life. I kept texting people and I was like, hey, I know you don't care, but today is the closest thing that you will have to March Madness before March Madness actually happens. Not even just for the amount of games that were kicking off. When what was it, 18 games kick off at the exact same time, they're all, going on concurrently. It wasn't just a fun day for people who enjoy watching sports. It was also an incredible day for gamblers. And we never do this on the show. Sometimes we'll we reference gambling in passing, but I'm not giving you guys picks because I got a hold on gambling and I don't do it anymore. I think the last bet that I placed was maybe 2021. I don't do it anymore. I was just talking to Maddie about this earlier. I was like, a habit that I'm really proud of myself for breaking is gambling, because I didn't know my limits and it was a problem for me. And it's one of the only times in my life that I ever showed actual discipline. But whoa, let me tell you something. Give me 2 seconds on gambling, okay? This today was the Champions League slate that we had on. I'm sorry, I'm taping this on Wednesday. I think I probably already said that in the previous when leading into this. I probably already told you that. So I'm taping this just a couple hours after the match day 8 ended here in the Champions League. The qualifiers are completely done, and now we move on to the playoffs and on to the round of 16 and so on and so forth. When you have a day this massive, I felt it a little bit. I had the juice a little bit. So I looked. And I did not end up putting down any money, but I just want to tell you what almost happened, okay? So what my plan was I'm going to bet on every single game. I'm going to have an 18-leg parlay. But my plan was, because there's so many games, I can get away with just hitting the over on 0.5 goals. So if I bet that one goal will be scored accumulatively total in every single game, the odds aren't good, but when you stack it 18 times, it ends up being something, right? So if you took over 0.5 goals in every single game, and the total, 0.5 goals, $10 would get you $200. So I was like, wait a minute, that's like a free $200. Like, there's no way. A lot of these games, maybe felt meaningless, but they really weren't. There really weren't that many meaningless games. The point differentials, and there was so much at stake, and I just was like, this is the ultimate. Everybody's going to be on the attack, on the attack, and I was like, it's going to be a goal heavy day, and so how did that end up playing out? Again, I didn't place the bet, but if I had done it, what would have happened? 17 out of the 18 games would have hit. There was at least one goal. Juve and Monaco ended 0-0 as a draw. Whoo! I thought it was the freest $200 I would have ever had, but instead I would have lost 10, and that's Vegas, folks. That's why you don't gamble, because instead of what I thought was moonwalking into a free $200 against my better judgment, I actually listened to my better judgment, and I said, just don't do it, dude, because if you hit this and you get this $200, you're not leaving the casino, and this will snowball into something, and God knows what else. So I didn't do it. I'm glad I didn't. Instead, I just would have been, pissed off that I lost $10. I didn't do it. Let's talk about the actual games for a second. Benfica. I don't know if there's ever been a moment in my life other than, trouble with the snap, Michigan State, Jalen Watts-Jackson, that I made noises that were not only involuntary, but noises that I had otherwise never heard in my entire life. So the last 15 minutes of that Benfica-Real Madrid game, I think, was probably the craziest soccer that I've seen. I mean, this is complete hyperbole. This is what I'm about to say isn't even true. But I mean, like, 2022 World Cup final, France and Argentina. Some wicked shit happened in this game. But more importantly, for those of you who watched, and you all know obviously where I'm going with this, okay, so the last 15 minutes of the game, I was watching on the Golazo network, which is, it's just the red zone adjacent for these soccer games. Because it's 18 games, and so many of them had stakes. Like, I'm not going to be able to pick one, and so I'm just like, fuck it, show me every single game at the exact same time, right? And when there are 18 games happening concurrently, that means that you're for real seeing goals. Like, you're not going 3 minutes of real time without seeing a goal somewhere. I mean, it was just the most electric day that I can remember watching soccer, and so you're watching this Benfica game, and the CBS booth, or not the booth, but the studio was losing its mind. They're getting so mad because even though Benfica is up 3-2, the 3 points isn't going to do them any good because they're still going to be out. They're not making it into the playoffs because the point differentials. They would lose that tiebreaker. And so I don't remember his name, but I think he's Argentinian. That guy who does like the Golazo network, when he does like the red zone adjacent, like he's their Scott Hansen. He's getting so fired up. He's like, I don't think they know. Like they think like they're time wasting essentially for the last 15 minutes. And he's like, dog, you need one more. You need one more right now. Somebody somewhere in that stadium needs to communicate to Jose Mourinho. You need one more desperately. We get down to like the last 5 minutes, and in those last 15 minutes, and again, even in the last 5, when they're doing subs, I mean, guys are like, you would think they were fucking crab walking off the field. Let's go, a little bit more pace. Let's go. Your European campaign is on the line. Let's fucking go. You know, you got Real Madrid right where you want them. So we get to a point that they're down to 2 reds, right? So Real Madrid's down to 9 players. Was it Asensio that picked up his second? I got to tell you, this was the most affirmed that I've ever felt watching this sport. So it was Asensio. He gets sent off late in that game it was just a reckless tackle. He gets his second yellow and he gets sent off. I'm watching the game by myself. I out loud say, what a fucking fool. I said, what a fool. And then on the broadcast, the guy goes, "Oh, that's absolute foolishness from Asensio." I said, "Oh, maybe I do know a little bit about." It was within milliseconds. The guy said the exact same thing in the broadcast as me. I said, "Oh, okay, maybe I do know a little bit of ball." He had he was the one I think a year ago. When Real Madrid was playing City, I don't know, was it the round of 16 maybe or something? Which, by the way, they're gonna play again. You imagine the way this is going to shake out is that Real Madrid will go through, because they got knocked out. That's the long and short of this, is they got knocked out of the top 8, and that had to do a little bit, I think, also Sporting scoring with essentially one of the last hits of the game. I'd have to. Was it Atletico Madrid? Was it? I think it was. No, they lost to Bodo. I'll look at it in just a second. Regardless, it looks like City and Real Madrid for the 100th time in the last 5 years are going to end up playing each other in the Champions League, which I think it's fine. It's annoying. The Man City subreddit is really annoyed about it, but like whatever. So we get down to 11 men. Rodrigo gets sent off late in the game because he's just yapping a bunch of fucking spoiled babies at Real Madrid. And brother, I mean it. Time wasting. Mbappe tries to steal it from the keeper, and he tries to put it in the back of the net, and they're just fucking so slow. And then he boots it down to the other end of the field, and there's like an immediate foul, I don't know, 25 yards away from the net. But Real Madrid thought it was the final whistle, so some of the guys kind of start to like run onto the field, and the ref is like, get the fuck off the field. That was a foul. There's still 30 seconds left in the game. So then a minute and a half goes by, and motherfuckers just, not... Jose Mourinho's like, I'm sorry, I don't know the keeper's name. They got one final set piece. It's the last hit of the game. And the keeper scores! He scores! A goalie scores! It's 4-2. It saves their season. It saves their European campaign. Benfica's alive. It was that actually, oh my God, I did it again. That's the sound. That's what I did. That's what I was doing. Because sparks were flying out of my head. I've never seen anything like that in my life. I'm not saying it hasn't happened. I'm just saying that as somebody who otherwise doesn't know a ton of the history of the sport. I think Allison, I don't want to get caught up in this. I don't want to say something to be wrong. Didn't Allison, I think he scored for Liverpool once, didn't he? Because if I'm wrong about that, then I'm going to say, but I think they said that on the broadcast as using it as a reference point. But because I don't know, they just said that, and I was like, that had happened within the last couple of years. I was like, oh, is that a thing? What I saw, again, and this is coming from somebody who otherwise doesn't have a great touchstone for like all time, Champions League moments, other than like Declan Rice putting in 2 of the best free kicks that you've ever seen, also against Real Madrid, by the way, a season ago. I say all that just to say, like, I think what we just saw with Benfica pulling off a keeper scoring with the last hit of the game to keep their season alive in the Champions League, when it's 2030 and whatever, a YouTube account puts out like the best, like the top moments from the Champions League of the decade. I don't know where that's going to rank, but I feel so privileged that I got to watch that live. And you see Mourinho like celebrating with the ball boy, and it was so cool. And then even Courtois, after the fact, dapped up the keeper and he gave him a hug. And my goodness, man, because that's what dreams are made of, brother. Oh, it was so cool. It was, I really did feel privileged. That's really the only way to say it, that just to witness a moment like that. It felt like when I was watching I don't remember if it was when they were playing in London or Berlin, but when Anthony Black dunked on like 4 dudes a week or 2 ago, I felt so privileged that I got to see that live, because the replay just, if I saw it on Reddit or something after the fact, it just wouldn't have hit the same. I would have been like, oh, wow, that was really cool. But getting to see that live was some wicked nasty shit. And I'm just so glad that I got to see this live and watch. It's crazy the turn that I've personally done on Real Madrid in like the last month and a half. I've always thought they were the better brand. Like, I don't know why. I always just like them. I really don't pick between them and Barcelona. I think they're both fine. Like, I don't hate either of them. I just, I don't know. I really like their branding, and I just think, like, that's it. As brands, I really like both of the teams. But it's funny because in that same span that I'm talking about, like the last like month or whatever, since I've kind of like started to sell my stock on Real Madrid a little bit. Well, one of the things that people always say about them, like, to slight them, is that all their players are just a bunch of spoiled babies. And then, Alonso gets sacked, and it's this whole thing, and which was complete nonsense. And that's a kind of a different conversation. I don't want to get too much off the road. Just with like the way that managers can get fired in soccer comparatively to, like, if you use American sports as a touchstone, their leash can just be so much shorter in Europe, and I don't really understand it at all. But anyways, he gets fired, and it really has been in the last like month or so that I've really come to terms with, like, yeah, they all are kind of a bunch of spoiled babies. And right after that header went in, just what a delivery, and again, what a header. And you see, I think it was Jude Bellingham and somebody else who were bitching to the official, and he was just kind of like, whatever, like, you guys are bitch made, and you just shouldn't have let him, like, you should have marked him, and you should have let him score. And then the official, while they're trying to, like, I don't know what they were looking for. There's no way they were looking for an offside. Like, I don't know what they could have been looking for. And the whistle, the official just blows his whistle. He's like, just get the fuck out of my face, man. They're a bunch of babies. Rodrigo at the end of the game is just a baby. Right. That's what I meant to say earlier. When Asensio got sent off, he had an assist to Mbappe against City last year in the Champions League. It was in the second leg when Mbappe ended up getting a hat trick, and I think it was his first for Real Madrid. Asensio had like a 50-yard just nuke. I mean, just a perfect ball to Mbappe, and then it was like a one-touch finish, or maybe two touches. And I remember coming on this show and being like, oh my God, like, what a ball from Asensio. And I was just like gassing him up. And then it was one of you guys who were like, yeah, he raped a woman. And I was like, oh, my bad. My bad, King. I didn't know that. And so it was something like that. It'd be fucked up if I'm wrong about that. And it was a completely different guy. And I've just gone the last, like, I don't know, not quite a year, but just being like, that guy is not very nice. No, he's a shithead. He seems like a shithead, at least, even if the thing that I just said isn't true, which would suck if it wasn't true and I said it. No, I don't know. Let's look at some of the other games, though, because, again, man, they were great. The quickest version of this, City's fine. City's doing great. People are so damn down on them all the time just because they lose to Bodo Glimt, which as one piece of commentary about the City loss to Bodo Glimt, was it a week or two ago? Amazing gesture that I've never seen before. I don't know if this is like commonplace that people that do soccer players usually do this. This would never fucking happen in America. So City goes to Norway and they play a team in the Champions League that hadn't played a game period in a month because of what their league's calendar is, and they lose. And you could blame it on the AstroTurf. You can blame it on whatever you want to blame it on, but the captains for City, so it was Holland and then Rodri and then who are the other captains? I don't know. They pooled money together to pay for the expenses that the traveling fans would have otherwise had to have dished out to, go to that game. So they just covered the tickets and the travel and all this shit. And I was like, wow, that's actually, as like a gesture to say, we played like shit and we're really sorry about that, and that was completely unacceptable, and you guys pay a lot of money to come to these games, you know what I mean? I just think that's a really cool gesture for the players of a team to pay back the fans, like literally pay them back physically with cash, to be like, we fucked up, we sucked that day, and we feel terrible that you used PTO or like whatever to come out and see us. That's an amazing gesture that, I don't know, again, you just otherwise wouldn't see, especially here. I don't know if there's a precedent that's otherwise been set for that. So if we just look at the other games, I'm sorry. So, right, this is what I was confused about earlier. So it was not Atletico Madrid that Sporting beat. It was at Athletic Club. And then, so who was it that, who am I thinking that? Right, it was Bodo Glimt. Or wait, did I say this earlier? Whatever, yeah, Bodo Glimt, they beat Atletico Madrid. And Atletico Madrid, they said a stat earlier. It was like, I guess I don't remember what it was. But just that they had been on an incredible run. And again, for a team that, a Norwegian team that had otherwise played like 2 games in the last month, for them to go into Madrid and to win 2-1. it's wild. And now they get to go to the playoffs. What else do we got? Barcelona, 4-1. The only thing I have to say here is Lamine Yamal did score. Was it a beauty? No, it was it was a beautiful deflection is what it was. The physics of that ball to end up in the back of that net, it just made absolutely no sense to me. Just such a brilliant player. Did Rafinha, let me pull this up here. Was it Rafinha that ended up scoring a penalty? Right, it was Rafinha scored a penalty, and then the worst, most diabolical bullshit that happened in this game. I'm not disrespecting Marcus Rashford. I'm disrespecting whoever the damn Copenhagen keeper is. Rashford had a free kick from, I don't know, like 20 yards out from like the left side of the net. The ball that he delivered wasn't good. It wasn't good. I don't know what the keeper was doing. There were a lot of goals today just from around a lot of these games where the keepers were just asleep at the wheel. But the goal that Rashford scored today, it was particularly egregious. A guy who otherwise this season, I can't believe, is he on loan? Is that what it technically is? So is he on loan from Aston Villa, or is he on, did they buy his contract? I don't understand how this works. So, okay, United loaned him to Villa, and then did Villa loan, but you can't, so did they buy his contract and then loan him to Barcelona? Someone please explain that to me. I don't understand how that works. What else do we have here? Liverpool had 6 today. Yeah, they had 6. I mean, it was cool. Like, it was a fun environment. Mo Salah, you talk about guys, scoring off of free kicks. He had a really, really nice one today. It was him and Szoboszlai, right? That were like doing a little who's going to take it? Who's going to take it? And then it ended up being Salah. And yeah, it was a really nice goal. He just seemed relieved, I think, more than anything. That was sort of the impression that I got from Salah. A guy who, again, like a month and a half ago, was being ostracized by the country. And then by extension of that, because of the criticism that Jamie Carragher levied against him, the entire country of Egypt was also then mad at Jamie. But at the end of the day, and I learned that I'm not supposed to side with Jamie on anything, but I just thought he was right about the whole thing. I'm like, you're the best player on the I don't really want to relitigate this whole thing. I don't think I've ever talked about it on the show. But at this point, we're over it. I guess we're over it. Mo Salah kind of had an outburst, and then we all just cooler heads prevailed, and everybody got over it, and now everybody's fine. Okay, all right, cool. Well, he had a goal today, and it was really nice. Who has been their best player this year? It hasn't been Mo. He was poop for the first 3 months. Is it Szoboszlai? It's probably him. It's not Gakpo. He fucking stinks. Did Virgil end up scoring? Didn't Virgil get one in today? No, he didn't. What am I thinking of then? No, he didn't. Maybe it was an assistant. I would say it's probably Szoboszlai's been their best. It's probably him. Yeah, otherwise 6-0. Sure. PSG and Newcastle. That was a fun one too. Dembele missed a penalty in the first. I swear to God, it was in the first 3 minutes of the game. And then because I was watching Galazzo, I didn't see what Kvaratskhelia injury was. I didn't see what it was. But I was devastated. And then it was like 20 minutes into the game. Doué ended up coming in, which if you use, again, for the third time, the last month and a half as a reference point, kind of been in the doghouse for Parisians, kind of been on their shit list, which is a bad, it's a bad people to be on the wrong side of Parisians, because they're at any given moment, just the French as a nation, at any given moment are moments away from lighting a bunch of trash cans on fire and like beating up police officers. Which is admirable in a lot of ways. I don't know that it's a tough city to have a bad stretch in, but for a guy like him, I guess maybe it's negligible and it doesn't make a difference. The only team I'm looking at this now, so Chelsea won today. Literally the only team that I care that they're not moving on is Napoli. But even at the same, I don't really care that much. It's crazy you watch Højlund this year and how good he's been for them. And just like how much of a meme he became last year. That's been fun, I guess, to sort of monitor. And then they said something on the broadcast today that really confused me. They were talking about KDB, and they were like, Kevin De Bruyne, and I don't remember maybe it was McTominay, and I don't think they were saying this about about Hoyland, but it was specifically about KDB, that he, quote, left City because he felt like their run was over. That's not true. I don't remember ever seeing any communication about that. Like that specific language, I never saw. That Kevin De Bruyne was like, I don't want to be at City anymore because I think our window closed. I thought it was a weird thing to say. Maybe I missed that. I don't know. Tottenham won. Boo. Boo. Tottenham won. Boo. Only guy on that team that I love him. Oh my God, I love him. Jed Spence. Ooh, send me your favorite winger. I love him. Love him, love him, love him. Don't know where I want him to go. Don't know who I want to buy him. Well, Leicester preferably, but obviously that's not going to happen. Honestly, United would be fun. I wish there was a reason for him to be at City. But who's been playing right back for them? Because Gvardiol snapped his leg, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. And he's out for a while. But he was playing center back. He wasn't playing right back. So they put Kusanov, or I should say Kusanov is how you're supposed to say it, but it's Kusanov. It's Kusanov is how you're supposed to say it. So he's been filling in for him, and then they just got, what's the guy's name that they just picked up? Not Semenyo. The guy they literally just got. It begins with a G. Come on, Nick, you got it. Mark. It's Mark. What's his last? It's Gheul. They just got him too. And I don't need Jed Spence. Where do I want Jed Spence to go? Who do I want Tottenham to sell Jed Spence to? If I had to expand out of United, just go to United. That would be nice. What other games do I want to talk about here? Is it Paphos? Paphos? Motherfucker scored a goal earlier in this game. What was his name? Dragonborn? It was the screamer from 35 yards out. It almost didn't even look like he was trying to score. He just fired a bam, absolute rocket, upper 90s, sicko nasty shit. By the way, I said City won earlier. They beat Galatasaray. Shout out to Gundo. Got to make his return to the Etihad. Haaland did score. Thank God. He didn't hit the robot. I feel like such a dumbass. I know it's been like 5 or 6 games since Haaland has scored. And then even then, it's been like almost a month and a half. Again, a month and a half since Haaland has scored a goal that wasn't a penalty. And so it is nice little chip today. Brilliant through ball from Jeremy Doku. He actually had both assists today. Him and it was to Haaland, and then there was one to Cherki. But the one that he had to Haaland was beautiful. And then again, it was just a nice little chip. But this is what I was going to say. Like, I just feel so dumb anytime Haaland does score. And again, more recently when he does, if he does, because he is, kind of been in a weird form lately. But when he does, he went on a little stretch where he was like hitting the robot. Like, he was really hitting that shit. And I'm obsessed with it. And so, since then, ever since he's, started to like hit the robot this year, every time he has scored, I go to boop, beep, boop, bop. I hit the robot. And I always look so damn stupid in front of Maddie, because he doesn't do it. And so then there's just me in the living room like, beep, boop, I'm Erling Haaland, boop, beep, boop. But he's not doing it, and so I just look like I'm tweaking. I'm doing like a vent fold in the living room, being Erling Haaland, doing a celebration. No, they moved on, and they secure a spot in the round of 16. Obviously, they did. They're the best team in the world. Bayern won today. I think, didn't Harry Kane score in this one? It was Musiala and it was Harry Kane, I think is what it was. I guess it's literally right here. Why don't I nailed it. Yeah, it was Musiala and it was Harry Kane. Yeah, other than that, man, it was just a fun day. I had so much fun for 2 hours just locking in and Marseille, they were playing in Bruges. And I don't want to do this. You saw this if you know where I'm going with this. I'm going to confuse myself somehow. Amazing day. It was such a fun day. And I'm just so glad that I was locked in for 2 hours. But okay, folks, that's the Champions League. Now I want to end the show with something fun. Okay, we're gonna do something fun. Now, if you listen, if you're a recurring listener of the show and you keep up with everything, you'll know where I'm going with this. But for those who don't, I'll give you a little bit of context. We have right here. Let me make sure there's no identifying information that ends up showing up. Whoa! How do I do? Okay, I'm gonna have to cut that out. I was looking at myself in the monitor. Okay, we have a package here. If you're not watching today's show, we have a package here. Okay, this package has arrived. Domestically, it's from within the United States. when it was shipped, but its origin was France. And this package is courtesy of Bathroom Tom, a.k.a. Wizards fan Tom. Some of you may know him by his preferred nomenclature, Hot Tom. Well, over the holidays, Tom was in France visiting his, French girlfriend. And he spent Christmas with the French, eating cheese and drinking wine and, speaking an elegant language and ripping heaters. Just ripping darts and smoking cigs with the French. And he had said to me, he's like, do you want me to get you anything while I'm here? And I said, normally, no. I would appreciate the offer, but I'm going to feel too guilty and I would say no. But I was like, I have a son now, and I think it would be cool if I was like, hey, this guy on the internet sent me something from France. Then I was like, okay, if Tom is kind enough to offer this one time, I will be like, all right, brother, let's do it. It's here. It's here. Now, we did make a request of what we would like, but I will not spoil that for you. I don't know what's in here. I mean, I obviously do because I'm the one that requested it, and he told me what it's going to be. But I don't know what it looks like, and so we're going to do a live package opening of Tom's gift to the Coping Hour. This is a gift to the Coping Hour. I'm going to be the one who possesses it, but this is from Tom. I don't want to put the package on screen because there's just too much identifying information on the package. So you'll just hear me kind of fumbling around. It's locked up like a damn Chinese finger trap. It says it was supposed to get here on the 23rd. I'm taping this on the night of the 28th. It just got here today, Tom. So that damn postal service, it's not your fault. I'm not mad at you, dude. You did exactly what you said you were going to do. And before I open this, Tom, brother, thank you. I'm going to say it a lot at the end of this when I do open this. But without further ado, folks, here we go. Here we go. Whoa! 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 No way! No way! I don't know how to... Whoa! There's two things! Oh! Tom! I don't know how to show this. I gotta take the headphones off because this is restricting my mobility here. Okay, if you're not watching today's show, I'm sorry, I'm doing a bad job of communicating what exactly is happening here. This is a scarf. We got a PSG. We got the PSG scarf. Oh, that's so sick! Oh my god, that's so sick! Dude. And then on this side we got oh, this is upside down. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me flip this upside down. I can't read to you what it says because it's not in damn English. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. But okay, all right. How do I do this? It's still upside down. Come on, Nick, get it together. This is important. This is history. This is history right here. You understand this? Oh, come on, Tom. Come on, brother. Oh. Woo! All right. And then this is the second piece of this. This is what I was expecting. This is French as hell. This is from France. This is so crazy. This is like I haven't opened the second thing yet. This is crazy looking at this. Because I'm holding this and it's like, oh yeah, it's like a little scarf. But the way that I'm thinking about it is like, it's from a different part of the world. Like obviously everything that I'm looking at in my room right now and everything that is in a 15-foot vicinity of wherever it is that you're listening to this, most of that stuff was not made in America or wherever it is that you're listening to this, right? But I don't know, there's like novelty in like this was like this exchanged like you put this on a counter and there was like a French person who touched it and was like, oh, this will be $5. And this is some, I don't know, it's cool. All right, the second thing. So this is what I was expecting to get. Whoa! This is so cool! It's a little snow globe! Brother, I'm going to start crying. Tom? Hold on, I'm sorry. Let me put this back up to the camera. Tom, I was mad at myself. I'm showing it to you guys. Sorry, the lighting's kind of bad. It's just a little Parisian snow globe. Oh, and it's got the Arc de Triomphe and the Notre Dame and the Sacré. How do you say this? Coeur. It's not Coeur. Sacré Coeur. Because I'm thinking of like Sacré Blanc. And then obviously the Eiffel Tower. Brother. So what I said to Tom originally. So this actually did end up sending me for a zag. Tom, you nailed this. Tom, you saved me. You saved me in a way that I cannot describe to you and that I cannot. Brother, I'm on my hands and knees thanking you because I was so upset with myself for saying PSG keychain Because I'm like, well, if at the same time you're like, well, I have a son and it would be cool to have something from France. What the fuck does he care about you know what I mean? He doesn't give a shit about a keychain. No, I don't, but this is cool. Like, this is cooler. A scarf and a snow globe is so much cooler because it just is more personality. I don't know. Tom, you've saved me. You nailed this. You made it so much better than what I ever could have imagined. I was expecting a keychain, and brother, I was so excited just for that because of the offer, and you made it even better. You made it even better, and look at this fucking thing. Some of you aren't able to listen to this, and I'm so sorry. If you're able to, if you care and you want to, if you're on Spotify, you can watch the video, or you can, switch over to YouTube or something. Come on, man. I'm fucking never taking this shit off. It's freezing outside. I can actually wear this in real life. But I'll have to, if you're watching today's show, you may also realize I've never actually put on a scarf before. So I don't know. I'm just going to probably wear it like this for now. And then once I cut the cameras, I'll actually, I'll fold it over myself and I'll do it the right way. Man, I thank you, dude. I'm just looking at this. I just think this is so cool. Like, this is a thing. Like, I'll just be able to, I'll be able to show this when, it'll be a couple years till my son gives a shit about anything or understands anything. But I'll be able to be like, yeah, this is real. That's cool. It's just cool. Thank you, dude. I'm so thankful, man. I thank you very much. You didn't have to do this, and you did, and the first and only, to be fair, I don't know, who knows, some of you guys are going to be in maybe if you're in some, no, I don't want this to set a precedent. This is kind of a one-off thing. Tom is such an important part of the integrity of this show, and I think his appearances are so important, and I just think this is a cool moment, and it's easy for me to say that because I'm the one that got cool shit, and you're the one that had to pay, for the shipping. I'm just saying, man, I thank you. I don't want to keep, I'll just email you, dude. I don't want to, because I don't want to keep doing this and just being like, oh my God, I'm so thankful. But I am, and I'll send you an email as soon as I'm done with this. And by the time this comes out, you'll have already seen it. But I'm just staring at it. I'm staring at it. I'm so thankful, man. Thank you, brother. And with that, we'll wrap up the show. Spotify. I will ask you guys a question this time. Spotify. I was just literally right before I went to tape this, I was on Reddit, and somebody on the Chicago subreddit had made a whole post about they went to a restaurant and they left a review, and they left a 4-star review, and the owner of the restaurant emailed them because the person's email was attached to their reservation, so they were able to get in contact with them. They emailed them and were like, hey, will you please take that 4-star review down? That hurts our business and blah, blah, blah. And so they posted it on Reddit, and they were like, hey, what should I do about this? This is making me feel weird. So my question is not for you to litigate that and to open that can of worms. What I'm asking you is, have you ever been the person to leave a review on anything like that? Like the Google reviews, you know what I mean? Like when you're, I don't need to explain it. You know exactly what I'm saying. It could be a restaurant. It could be a bookstore. It could be anything, a tattoo shop. You know what I mean? It could be literally anything. Have you ever been the person to leave a Google review or a Yelp review or something like that? I haven't. I don't think I'll ever. I don't know how to say this, because if you have, I don't want to be condescending to you. Because I think it's important that people do that. We all value that. There's kind of this, I think we all have seen some, variant of this tweet before, where it's you'd rather see 1,000 reviews and it's 4.6 out of 5 stars, but it has 1,000 reviews, rather than 19 5-star reviews and that's it. You know what I mean? That makes sense. So the reviews are important, but I don't care enough about that, and I would feel too. But when I have shitty experiences somewhere, my first thought isn't to let the world know about it, because I would feel too bad. But then at that same point, I would feel too bad for the business or whatever it is. But at the same time, it's well, you should also not let other people go there if the place sucks that bad. But I'm always just kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt. If we just use a restaurant as an example. Maybe the waiter or the waitress is having a bad day, or the cook was having a bad day and he was asleep on the stove or something, and the I don't know. I just show too much grace in those moments, and I don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers or make anybody have a bad day, so I never leave the reviews. Have you though? Have you? Apple Podcasts. What's up? If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, nice little comment for the algorithm. Make sure to keep primary control and check. Tom, thank you so much, brother. Look at this fucking thing. This is so sick, dude. This is so sick. This is so much cooler than a keychain. I'm so happy. Thank you, dude. I love PSG. I love them so much. So now I have the Kvaratskhelia Champions League final shirt, which is just right here. I could pick it up, but I'd have to reach over. I'm not going to do that. I have the Mbappe PSG shirt from a couple years ago, and now I got this. It's like, Tom, it's like you have a French girlfriend, and I don't want to call you my French boyfriend, but you know what I mean? If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, nice little comment for the algorithm. Make sure to keep primary control in check. And I will catch you guys in the next one.